Hello and welcome to another standard video. Today we're checking out this blue-black tempo deck, which wants to fill its own graveyard to set up its various win conditions, which include on the one hand Tolarian Terror, a 7 mana 5/5 with Ward 2, but it does get a 1 mana discount for each instant and sorcery in our graveyard, so we can routinely cast it for just a single blue mana in this deck. And then there's the Emet-Selch Crab, another 7 mana creature. This one will cost double blue with a full graveyard, and then can also flash it in during the opponent's turn, where it will enter tapped, but we also get to tap down 2 opposing creatures, so that can be a great tempo play, allowing us to swing the race back into our favor as we get to now start attacking with a bunch of 5/5 creatures. And then a newcomer from Final Fantasy is Emet-Selch, a 3 mana 2/4 with Vigilance. When it enters or attacks, we get to draw a card and then discard a card, perfect for filling the graveyard. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in our graveyard, we get to transform Emmet into Hades, a 6/6 with Vigilance, which now lets us cast all of our spells out of the graveyard during our turn, and then they will get exiled if they end up back into the graveyard. So that's at least 14 cards that we now get to play with during our turn, so that's usually enough card advantage to take over the game. So those are the threats that are going to try and close out the game. Now, of course, we do need lots of cheap spells to fill the graveyard in the first place, so we can get them down in a timely manner and make sure we can transform Emmet. And the easiest way to do so is by casting lots of cantrips, cheap card draw effects that give us some card selection so we can find a relevant interaction while adding an instant or sorcery to the graveyard. So at 1 mana, there's Opt at instant speed to scry 1 and draw, and then a Sleight of Hand, look at the top 2, 1 in hand, the rest on the bottom. And then at 2 mana, Final Fantasy introduces Resentful Revelation, looking at the top 3 cards of our library, putting 1 in hand, the rest into our graveyard, so kind of like a strategic planning, but the upside here is that it also has Flashback for 7 mana, worth the game to drag out a bit. So Revelation, if we're lucky, can put 3 instants and sorceries in the graveyard, while still having an extra card in hand as well, so that can be a great way to fuel our various creatures. And then at 3 mana, of course, stock up, another mainstay in Standard for any blue decks, looking at the top 5 to put 2 of them in hand, so that can also find additional interaction or find our win conditions when we're ready to turn the corner. Then we also need some interaction to keep up with all the aggro decks in Standard. At 1 mana, we've got a full set of Cut Down to deal with smaller creatures. We also have 2 copies of Into the Floodmaw to bounce opposing creatures or other non-land permanents if we gift a fish. And then at 2 mana, there's a Go for the Throat for larger threats, as well as Strategic Betrayal, making the opponent exile a creature they control, as well as exiling their entire graveyard. So this can do double duty against the Omniscience combo decks and other graveyard strategies, so that can also come in handy. Then we've got just 2 counter spells with Spell Pierce, can maybe catch the opponent off guard since it's only a single blue to keep up, so we can keep it up alongside Opt, Floodmaw, and even the Emet-Selch Crab with enough of a discount. And then we also have 2 copies of Duress, as some hand disruption can also come in handy against combo and control decks. So we maybe don't have a ton of removal and interaction for the Omniscience combo deck, so that's the one I'm least confident in, but against creature decks we should have a good amount of interaction and some large blockers to get in the way as well. And then this deck doesn't want to play too many lands since we have all these cantrips. We're usually fine keeping a hand with only 1 or 2 lands in it, assuming there's some card draw effects in it, since we don't want to be flooding out and we want to keep a very high spell density. So only 20 lands, including as many blue-black dual lands as possible. So that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play. Hand seems keepable. Sleight of hand, look for more cantrips. Could make it Opt since we already have stock up on 3. And see what we're up against. Black-white. So I can Opt at instant speed, but I might find another Sleight of Hand that I want to cast. I'll take a stock up now that I know what we're up against. Might be a slower matchup, so then resources could matter. Nightmare. I would rather counter, since otherwise they end up picking it up with a Pixie. So it's not just 1 Nightmare, it's multiples. Gonna wait on Emmet, since it's probably just gonna get removed right away. Stock up for now, next turn we can Duress. Keep hitting land drops. Do we need Go for the Throat? It's not a priority, but eventually I might need it. Now pylons. Mills nowhere to run. And a Bandit's Talents, so could be more of a discard deck than a pure Pixie deck. So can ditch Opts, keep stock up Duress. Alright, Pixie, pick up Talents. I might take it out of their hand now. See Liliana as well. We're not great at answering Planeswalkers, since Betrayal's only creatures. So might have to go for Liliana here. Don't care about Lockdown outside of them picking up their own stuff with it. Which, to be fair, does matter. Momentum Breaker's also quite good. So actually a few problems for us to deal with. But I think Liliana is the most pressing problem. And then I think I just stock up to be efficient. Finding Revelation plus Terror, I want to say. If they make me discard with either Talent or Momentum Breaker, I can ditch one Betrayal. I would rather have them play the Momentum Breaker compared to making me sack a Tolarian Terror with it. Alright, and there's Momentum Breaker. So one Betrayal goes. And a Bandit's Talent, so that worked out. Now, Revelation versus another Betrayal. I'm pretty close to transforming Emmet, especially if I cast a Revelation, so maybe I get rid of Betrayal. I don't think their graveyard matters too much. And I think we can beat the 2/2 flyers. But yeah, I guess our opponent's plan now is to cast Lockdown, picking everything up, and then Pixie pick up Lockdown, which will re-trigger Breaker and Bandit's Talent. So I might have to find another discard spell, or maybe Spell Pierce for the Lockdown. So then Revelation gives me the best chance of doing so. So we'll cast it. And yeah, did not quite get there. I'll take the crab. So they're gonna make me discard 2 more cards. I guess it still fuels Emmet, so we've got all our hopes riding on Emmet. Opponent goes for another Momentum Breaker first. So I guess we are spared the Lockdown right now. But yeah, what happens if they Lockdown next turn? Then it's just an extra Momentum Breaker trigger, which isn't helpful. I'll level up Talents, so they're not playing the Pixie. Yeah, I guess we play the crab, since either sacking it or discarding it is kind of the same. This way we at least get 5 damage in. But yeah, the problem persists. I guess my best hope now is just playing Emmet and Terror, and then I only sacrifice 2 things to Momentum Breaker, so I can keep Emmet alive. Alright. Maybe playing the land made more sense, since yeah, we'll end up discarding Go for the Throat, whereas land I would have had him play. But yeah, Emmet would transform here. So hopefully that can carry us. Opponent makes the Lockdown play. And the Pixie, pretty important. Pick up Lockdown. And pick up Momentum Breaker. So Go for the Throat's gone. Crab's gone. Terror's gone. But Emmet transforms. Gets to hit for 6, and we want to get the most out of it. Playing a land. I can play lots of Tolarian Terrors. Don't get to keep Spell Pierce up during the opponent's turn. So, yeah, I think it's probably just cast as many threats as possible and duress away your lockdown and or your momentum breaker. And then we can just sack a creature. Play Crab. Tap down double Pixie. Hit for 6. Alright, so well, Emmet definitely delivered here. Just one threat needed to survive. And it took care of the rest. Take 4 of Pixies. They can maybe deal some more damage with a Bandit's Talent if they level it up. Also can't forget about Momentum Breaker gaining a life. But yeah, our opponent explodes. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Hand is reasonable. Turn 1, keep up cut down. Turn 2, Revelation. Opponent on blue-red. Finding... Probably need the cantrip to hit my land drops. Even though if I select Emmet, I add 2 non-creature spells to the graveyard. It's a close call. Let's be greedy. Keep Emmet. And then really hope for a land for stock up. Opponent's got the cutter onto. And we found the land at least. So I could also play Emmet now to get a body on the board, which can also help discard more non-creature spells. Probably don't need both Betrayals. It's mostly here as a form of graveyard hate for the Omniscience matchup, while still being okay against aggro, but against Cutter making tokens it's not that useful. So next turn we can play a 2-mana Crab to tap creatures down, while maybe cutting one down as well. Can't afford to block if they have Burst Lightning or Monstrous Rage. So they're basically signaling that they have one of those in hand. More likely to be Burst Lightning, since they probably would have just cast a Monstrous Rage. Okay, so with that information in mind, we get to attack. If they try and double block and Burst Lightning, I guess that would result in a trade, but we picked up another Emmet, so that's not a disaster. And then again planning to ditch Betrayal, even though the graveyard hate is somewhat relevant against Talent if it levels up. They also have to make the decision of casting the Burst Lightning on Emmet as opposed to going face, because if they double block, we could cut down. So our opponent lets damage happen. And then I haven't hit my land drop yet, so I think I do want to opt to try and find it, and then I can still crab at the very least. No to the Revelation. And found the land, turning on the Verge as well. So now we can still crab plus cut down. And since I'm probably not winning a long game against Cutter, I need to try and get the game over with crab. Alright, opponent on a version with Bolt Wave. Could try and cut down now, but it's unlikely to work out. A sleight of hand. Yeah, if I cut down, they would just have another instant. Can maybe cut down the remaining Monk token. But Crab's decent, tapping 2 attackers down. And I guess I won't discriminate between Monks and Otters, 1 each. Opponent attacks, I can block the Monk. And hope they pump it. If it's Burst Lightning, they would target Emmet. Right, opponent pumping the creature that's not attacking. But it is out of range from cut down, so fair enough. Still gonna cut down the Monk, I think. Just to get rid of it now and to be mana efficient. But yeah, it's not saving me any damage. So we're at 8. 7 cards in graveyard, so we're not really close to transforming Emmet yet. Alright, so step 1 attack. Don't think Darkslick Shores is doing me any favors. So now stock up Digs the Deepest for potential answers. Another crab is probably the best we can hope for. Found it alongside maybe Revelation over Cut Down, since we're likely to find more removal with it, or another crab. Alright, hopefully crab keeps us alive another turn, but I wouldn't count on it. Upside of keeping Cut Down is that it can maybe clear a path for a lethal attack on the way back, since we are potentially attacking for 12 ourselves. Are we dead to another shock? Tap 2 creatures down, block with Emmet. No, we're not dead yet. And now our opponent's dead on the way back. So they probably should not have attacked. Wow, super close game. But yeah, Eddie Merc Crab to the rescue. Awesome, on to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, and we have a fine hand with lots of cantrips. But yeah, depending on the matchup, we might need to find interaction right away, otherwise we get run over. But at least we get to choose what kind of cards we keep. For now, just take the land. So our opponent blue-white, looks like the Omniscience combo deck. Not a great matchup, we've got a few decent tools. Mainly Duress, Spell Pierce, and Strategic Betrayal to exile their graveyard. For now, Revelation. Actively want Cut Down to end up in the graveyard. So we're down to 3 mana for Tolarian Terror. But we haven't found any relevant interaction yet. Opponent did mill Omniscience. So next turn they could already combo kill if they have a Boiler's Awakening, since they picked up the invasion just now. So my only hope is Revelation hit Spell Pierce, because I wouldn't have black mana for Duress. Yeah, that's my only play. And there's Spell Pierce. So we're not just dead. That's a nice feeling. But I can't afford to tap out for Tolarian Terror. Alright, do you have it? They do, so that actually works out. Now the question is, can I afford to resolve some threats, or do I need to Revelation again? But it would again have to be Spell Pierce, which is just 1 copy left in the deck. Stock Up could maybe do it if we find the right color to cast, let's say a Duress that we find alongside it. But yeah, I think it's time to resolve some threats, and then I guess we make it Terror, end of turn Crab. So they might respect more interaction. Verge I'll keep. But if they have a second Awakening, there's not much I can do about it. Archaeologist attacking, so maybe they're gonna Dispersal it. Yep. It used to be that attacking is a sign for Chart, of course, but now that Dragonstorm has surpassed it, you mostly want to attack with Archaeologist in order to pick it back up. So are they going to replay it? Nope, opponent hangs on to 3 mana to maybe cast the Moment of Truth, or to bounce Terror and pay the ward. Alright, so then for my position, I could either Revelation, which still lets me both Crab and Terror, or I can Stock Up, which digs a little bit deeper to find specific answers. But we can start by attacking, since I don't think that's going to change. So maybe I like Stock Up, because then I can still end of turn Crab. But if I find, let's say, a Duress, I can cast it alongside another Terror. Found a Duress, and then does Stock Up matter more than an untapped land? Probably. So then we can have a look, but I do get to maybe still cantrip end of turn to find another Boyle's Awakening. Alright, so they have double Riddle, which can dig 4 cards deep end of turn to find a Boyle's Awakening. Could take the Invasion, but if they hit Awakening for Omniscience between double Riddle, Moment, and Chart of Course, I'm sure they can find more action. They still have Archaeologist as well. So it's not Invasion, so then I think Riddle makes sense. That way if they do somehow counter the Terror, then they're left with Moment, which doesn't dig quite as deep. But yeah, I don't think this really matters. Cast a Terror. Cross our fingers that in 5 draws they cannot find another Awakening. There's 3 left in 41, so you can do the math. Double Omniscience hits the graveyard. Are we dead? It looks like it. Alright, well. GG's. I think the odds were in our favor there. But, yeah, we got lucky to find the Spell Pierce in the first place to get us this far. Had the Duress, but our opponent just had way too many cantrips that it didn't matter if we took one of them. So another Spell Pierce would have been preferred. Strategic Betrayal also would not have really helped, given that they ended up putting more Omniscience in the graveyard. So opponents still on the old school builds of Omniscience combo. Most versions have shifted to Jeskai Revelation as their win condition, since it's just a combo with Invasion and you don't need any other pieces. But we'll see what our opponent wants to do here, because we haven't seen an actual win condition yet. It would be funny to play Omniscience combo on the ladder without a sideboard, since so many people concede as soon as you put Invasion on the stack. Now you've got also different builds of Omniscience combo with Scroll Shift and the 2-mana Saga, which could mill the opponent to death in a pretty convoluted way. So the deck keeps evolving, but the core plan is still the same. Well, our opponent's got this Invasion trigger on the stack, but maybe they forgot how the combo works, or they just disconnected. Alright, we get to untap. I mean, I'll take it. Cast Crab, tap down your creatures, attack for the win. They could still come back in time, casting Moment of Truth at instant speed to find another counterspell. So yeah, if our opponents had Jeskai Revelation in the sideboard, we were dead. But that's why we played out sometimes. How many cards in graveyard? 10, so we were pretty close to transforming Emmet. Our opponent seems to be back, and they explode. Wow. Well, sometimes you gotta count your lucky stars. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a fine hand. Got some removal, some card draw, ways to fill the graveyard to set up our crab. And the Floodmaw, I think I'll keep. Flexible removal no matter which matchup. Although putting it in the graveyard could have helped to fuel the crab as well. Hired Claw. I kind of want to cut down, since it is a pretty scary card if it goes unanswered. Even though Revelation would be more mana efficient. Still have Floodmaw for any haste creatures. So opponent being red-white, not sure if it's more of an aura deck or more of a burn deck, or somewhere in between. For now, could Revelation still keep up Floodmaw? if they play like a Screaming Nemesis next turn, or we can just tap out for stock up. And then find, I want to say, land plus Revelation. Don't think I need to prioritize a second crab, although we'll eventually want them. But yeah, the priority is filling the graveyard. Alright, it's Mabel next. Could go for the Throated, still play Revelation. Start with Revelation. And then Spell Pierce against kind of a Burn Mouse aggro deck versus just Sleight of Hand. Or I guess at this point, since we have the mana, I can take another Revelation to dig the deepest. And then I don't know if I should respect any protection spells. I'll just pass with Go for the Throat available. But we could also now play the crab, so if they play some hasty creature, I can tap both of them down. Right, it's going to be a Swordmaster with Offspring next. That resolves. So Go for the Throat on Mabel seems acceptable. A Revelation. Find Emmet, perfect. So if I play Emmet, it's not quite transforming, so I think we can wait to maybe set that up so it transforms in one go. And then this might be a good turn cycle for Crab, keep up Floodmaw. And then Emmet plus Revelation should get us close to the required number of cards. Need 14. Transforms in our upkeep. Sheltered by Ghosts. Can bounce in response or just let it happen, to be honest. The only problem is if we let Sheltered resolve, I cannot tap it down with a crab as easily. If I bounce it, they can replay it with Offspring once again. So, yeah, interesting spots. Could also bounce the Sheltered by Ghost itself at some point. So maybe we actually don't mind it if our opponent exiles the crab and I get to tap down both attackers. And then I'll still have Floodmaw for later. And then by bouncing Sheltered by Ghosts and getting the crab back, we can tap down 2 more attackers in the future. Alright, opponent's gonna try and protect the Swordmaster, so I won't be able to tap it down. I guess now I just bounce it in response and then they don't get to keep their Sheltered by Ghosts either. So that still worked out. A Revelation, I'll look for more removal. Cut down versus Tolarian Terror. I don't hate the cut down. 13, so play Emmet, and then with either Opt or Cut down we get to 14 in Graveyard. So I guess now ditched Opts. Hope we get to untap with Emmet. If they try another Sheltered by Ghosts, I can cut down a response. If they have another Sheltered plus Rescue, then they can get rid of our Unsundered. But yeah, Revelation is the easiest way to transform Emmet. And yeah, they had another Sheltered, so do you have another Shard Mage's Rescue as well? You do not. So, do we get to transform? Would be very nice to see. So hopefully they don't concede yet. Alright, here we go. Transform, please. And our entire graveyard is our hand, essentially. So, start with a cut down. And an attack. Play a 1-mana Terror. Can play a Lance as well. This is lovely. Keep another Emmet just in case. Because yeah, if I were to put it in the graveyard now, it does get exiled, so... Another Sheltered by Ghosts. I'm afraid we have another cut down in hand. Otherwise I probably would have cast a stock up to look for more interaction. And yeah, now our opponent's very dead, even without the crab. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Hand seems keepable. A little slow to get going, but that's usually the case when we're trying to cast all these creatures that rely on a discount. For now, Surveil against black. Spell Pierce can be effective. The main card I'm worried about is the enchantment, the Unholy Annex. Putting it in the graveyard does fuel the crab, but maybe it's worth keeping. If they play Deep Cavern Bat, they won't even see it, so then I can maybe counter the Annex. Yep. So then I can Sleight of Hand, keep up Spell Pierce. It's gonna be a little bit suspicious that we didn't cast a 2-mana spell instead. Opponent took the Betrayal. So let's Sleight, find, probably cut down over another crab. So if they don't make me Spell Pierce, I can still cut down the bat instead. But I'm really hoping they go for Annex here. Perfect. Man, sometimes I even surprise myself. Alright, so the game's not won yet. Can stock up versus cut down plus Revelation. Yeah, I think stock up is fine. And then untapped land plus crab. Ooh, Shieldred, that's a problem. Need to find Go for the Throat for it. At least now I can pass, cut down bat and still crab to tap down Shieldred, but I'm unlikely to win a race. At least a lot of our quote-unquote card draw effects don't actually draw a card, so they don't trigger Shieldred between stock up and Revelation. And then I guess Betrayal's an answer to Shieldred, so maybe I should have actually just main phased all of that. Kind of forgot about the Betrayal here. So our opponent's going to want to play another creature out. The Demon works, which could have been countered by Spell Pierce. So yeah, that turn could have gone a lot better for me. Had I just cut down the bat, Betrayaled Shieldred, and then I still would have had Spell Pierce for Ritual Chamber, would have been an absolute blowout. But yeah, got a little carried away. Find Tolarian Terror. Now, we still have options. Can stock up, hit a land, Betrayal. They likely keep Shieldred. Stock up into Crab is also an option. But yeah, let's see what we can find. Maybe a bounce spell for the Demon token, which we did. And then a land still lets me play Tolarian Terror at the very least. So not quite enough mana for Betrayal. But I'll take this trade all day long. Opponent unlocks the Annex. Alright, so we've got a long way to go, but yeah, Betrayal deals with Shieldred. Not enough mana to activate Sanctuary in response. Hit you for 10. And then I think we keep up Crab and Spell Pierce versus casting Revelation. Animate Sanctuary, so they have a Demon for Annex, and cast Slasher. Yep, that should be game over. Opponent goes up to 13, we've got 15 on the way back. Alright, so glad we still got there in the end after a small hiccup. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand might be a little creature dense, although Revelation does help. Get to start with a Surveil, maybe putting an extra instant or sorcery in the graveyard. So I'm willing to give it a shot, but there is a fail rate here. If we don't find more cantrips, we might be stranded with some expensive creatures in hand. Opponent on, presumably Esper Pixie. Betrayal, I think I just put in the graveyard. I mean, it's fine removal, but they're probably just gonna go Nightmare into Pixie, and then dealing with the Pixie is not dealing with the Scavenger. Just need to get these creatures down as soon as possible. And there's a Nightmare. For now can get a land. Alright, no second land, so that's a big deal. And then I'll take the stock up. Or do I? Stock up would add another card for Crab and Terror. So then Terror would cost 4 mana. So can't quite cast it next turn. Yeah, I'll take the stock up. Another Nightmare to be expected. Maybe it is worth it to discard Floodmaw just to get the discount, although bouncing Scavenger's not a bad play. So then maybe say goodbye to Emmet, which is going to be pricier to deploy, and I don't think we're realistically transforming it. Also have to watch out for opposing edict effects, so it's not like a 5/5 is necessarily safe. Or I could ditch the Floodmaw and keep all my threats and look for a more permanent solution to the Scavenger. Because yeah, for now we're under pressure, but if they're missing land drops, they can't fully go for it. So then if the game drags on, I would like to have those extra threats. So then stock up versus Emmet. I don't hate going for stock up here. Look for removal. Fine, go for the throat, and sleight of hand's not bad, just to add one more card to the graveyard. Alright, I mean, we've been lucky that our opponent's been stuck. Probably can't expect him to miss land drops for much longer. Yep. So is it Pixie, pick up Nightmare? It is. So we're taking 6 down to 5. But now we can maybe start turning the corner. And then I guess I don't need to keep Sleight of Hand necessarily. So then I can play both Terror and Crab. Opponents at 15 from their own pain lands, so it doesn't take much to cross the finish line. But they probably still have some edicts in hand, so I'm gonna lose a creature here. Opponent goes to attackers. Technically the Terror would hold off the Scavenger, but they probably have nowhere to run to grow Scavenger at instant speed while shrinking down Terror, since they can ignore Ward. And what's next? Sheltered by Ghosts. Okay. Has to go for Crab since we have Ward. I can pay for the Ward with Go for the Throat, and then Crab taps down Scavenger once again. So that's fine. So hit for 5. Question is, with this extra Tolarian Terror, I guess I cannot quite play it unless I go for the Throat now. But then the Scavenger still may be a concern. Because yeah, the Crab enters tapped if it's not my turn. So I guess if I remove Pixie now, I would have an untapped Crab and Tolarian Terror. I think I'm better off passing with Go for the Throat up. Momentum Breaker, may as well keep Terror over Crab since it has Ward. So then we get to hit the opponent down to 3. Play a bunch more blockers out. Yeah, I mean, still an incredibly close game despite our opponent missing all those lanes. But now go for the throat should be the final nail. So can just play Terror, keep up, go for the throat instead of playing Emmet. And that should seal the deal, even if they have another Sheltered by Ghosts. I guess small chance they go Sheltered plus Shard Mage's Rescue, and then I die. But yeah, opponent just goes to attackers. They attack. This would leave them dead on board technically as well. So they would need another blocker, but better off just dealing with a Scavenger. So yeah, sometimes using those discard effects to your advantage to fuel your creatures is not a bad way to do it. And we get to rank up here as well. Awesome. So yeah, this blue-black Emmet Terror Crab deck played out a lot better than I expected. Reminiscent of the blue-green Crab deck, but yeah, reasonably positioned for the current meta. Could maybe add a few more hate cards for the Omniscience matchup, but that's also where the deck can maybe pivot in best of 3. Although if you do play this in best of 3, you can also expect to face some opposing graveyard hate, so then it's going to be a little trickier to get some of your creatures in play, so then it's a good idea to diversify with alternative win conditions that don't necessarily rely on the graveyard too much. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.